Now, I've thought long and hard about whether or not I was going to make this video. And I think that in light of the things that I've been warning you about for years, and in light of the recent developments of the mass shooting and other stories that are now emerging right now about someone else, this person of Asian heritage, I believe, threatening the University of Arizona with a mass shooting. Folks, this is not an accident. I told you that there would be a rise in violence after the eclipse. And there's very few people that have warned you about this. And I've been right about a lot of different things. There's a reason why you should get off social media. There's a reason why you shouldn't waste your time on TikTok. There's a reason why these things are happening. So this is what I have to tell you. There was someone that I knew in Portland, Oregon, who I met at an anti-war protest in 2007. And we later hung out a few times, but not too many times. I didn't get too close to this individual, but he was someone that followed my work. And there's a lot of unstable people out there that over the years have followed my work. And some of them have gone off the deep end. And so here's what I have to say. Now, I've left Oregon many years ago, and I have continued to expose the demonic influence over both the extreme left and right, and even terrorism around the world, that there is a spirit of evil behind the violence that we have seen in the streets. And sometimes people may show themselves to have an inclination towards psychic ability. And so this is where the story starts. Around November 27th, 2022, after a long hiatus, taking time off of the internet, after dealing with targeted harassment from neo-Nazis and others that didn't like the things that I was saying about the unseen forces and the potential coming war with China and Russia and other things that I predict could happen after that. And so I took some time off the internet, and I even had to move away from my off-grid retreat. So I suffered, folks, for trying to wake people up to these matters. So I took some time off. But in November, on the 27th, in the year 2022, I returned with a private channel, not in my name, where I spoke out about the pharmaceutical industrial complex and the poisoning that it is doing to Americans and also humans around the world. And I proceeded to talk about other issues as well regarding Elon Musk and corruption regarding Twitter, how he is playing a role in the radicalization process, and many other things. And so nobody knew that I was making this channel. And yet on that day, on November 27th, 2022, a man by the name of Steve Baggs put out a tweet. "Alex, where are you? It is time." In other words, he knew, because I told him several years earlier that I was going to step away from the internet in some sort of a message that I sent over social media. And so he somehow psychically, intuitively picked up on the fact that I had just made a video. Although he didn't see the video, he somehow knew inside that I made a video, and there he made a tweet on November 27th, 2022, "Alex Ansary, where are you? It is time." And so in that same time period, Steve Baggs was having his own meltdown without telling you every single detail and reading the whole article. I'm going to leave you the link down below. If YouTube will let me share it, I will put the headline in the description and you can Google it yourself. Apparently, he was hired as an emergency hire in the state of Utah. So apparently he moved from Oregon to Utah to become some sort of a teacher. And again, I did not know this guy very well. And that's a good thing. But he did follow my work. Apparently he had some sort of a meltdown on campus and made threats. He made threats of a mass shooting. He made many, many phone calls where he did what I would consider to be something only a crazy person would do. He made threats to faculty. He made threats to faculty members at the college. He made threats to potentially even shoot up students. He warned of going out like Rambo if he didn't get his way. It's not really clear what his problem was. It's not really clear exactly what it is. It seems like he snapped. There are, of course, some stories there about a potential domestic violence charge that came before the threats of violence. So there was a long string of events that he was involved in. And they're so numerous, I can't even begin to get into all of it. Like I said, I'll leave the name of the headline down below and you can take a look. So he basically went off on a tangent and made a lot of threats in a short amount of time, maybe even to police. Like, this is something that I considered surprising because that's not behavior that I saw from him, right? When we hung out 10 years ago, this was not, this was off color for Steve. So the question is, what happened to Steve? Steve was definitely spending a lot of time on TikTok, and I don't know what else he was doing that led to this potential possession. He had claimed, of course, that his spouse had become possessed and made a false police report on him. These things do happen, but his reported behavior is inexcusable, and he ended up fleeing from Utah to Japan, where he was for a few months. And he was making claims on his Facebook page that he was going to, quote, kill Facebook, which is not language that I would use. Facebook sucks. I would totally get away from Facebook. But the terminology that he was using on some of his posts were above and beyond. And so there's something happening, folks, with people that used to be ordinary folks 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, he was normal enough to even get a job, right? To get a job as a art teacher. You know how hard it is to get a job in America, don't you? Especially as a teacher at a accredited university, right? It's not a cakewalk. So he was hired into this higher education world, and then he went insane. He didn't go insane in Oregon. He went insane when he ended up in Utah. What is it that happened to him? What I can tell you, folks, is I stepped away from the internet because I knew that there would be a rise in possessions, because I saw it in 2019 in elements of my audience on YouTube, right? I saw some very disturbing signs on YouTube that demons were taking over people in the audience, and it bothered me greatly. And it was a sign to get off the internet. And recently, I felt a spiritual calling to return to the internet to try to warn my fellow brothers and sisters that are listening, brothers and sisters in spirit, right? That understand my passion, that understand the things that I'm talking about, that aren't going to laugh at this, because this is not a laughing matter. What is happening to people across the country is not a joke. It seems to be getting worse. Now, you might have a certain theory as to what's taking place, but you're making a mistake if you continue to believe that we're all alone in this universe. You know, you are surrounded with TV shows about aliens and about UFOs, but I think people are spending way too much time looking up in the sky at SpaceX most of the time without even realizing it, right? Wanting to see UFOs in some cases, right? I think that's a big mistake, trying to make contact with lights in the sky, when the real alien invasion, right, seems to be manifesting in a slightly different way, down on the ground, within the hearts and minds of some of these people that are now acting out, that are showing how unstable they are. And so I wanted to make a video about Steve, encouraging people to maybe pray for him, because he's probably on his way to prison for the things that he has been accused of. Again, making multiple death threats to multiple staff members at that university. And there may be some other things that he is accused of as well. And so he basically is facing a domestic terrorism charge. They arrested him when he left Japan several months ago, and he flew into San Francisco. And so when I became aware of the news articles regarding him, I've been looking for updates, and it looks like he is now pleading guilty. And perhaps Steve has returned to his normal self now that he is in trouble. And that's the thing. Something can happen to people where they're taken over by an entity or a demon, call it what you will, And they may not even realize what they did until the damage has been done to their life. And so it is what it is, folks. This individual on November 27th, 2022, psychically knew when I uploaded a video, when nobody knew that I uploaded a video on a dummy channel, not my name, but he knew. Just because some people show themselves to be capable of psychic ability doesn't necessarily mean they're on the side of the light. Now, keep that in mind when you hear from these so-called spiritual gurus that are all over the internet, supposedly channeling messages from the Galactic Federation of Light. And if you want more information about that, follow the links down below, follow my newsletter, and of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be back with more. I'm Alex Ansary. At 11:30 at night on October 25th, 2023.